15 under par, 26 birdies. One week, that changed everything. On the demanding black course at Streamsong, Charlie Woods did more than compete. He separated himself from an elite field of junior golfers and delivered performance that few saw coming. Facing the world's top young talents, including the highly ranked Miles Russell, Charlie turned what many expected to be a tight contest into a statement victory. Entering the tournament far outside the spotlight, expectations were modest at best. But by the end of the week, there was no doubt. This was the moment Charlie Woods announced his arrival. This is the story of the tournament that reshaped his future. In May 2025, Bowling Green, Florida became the center of the junior golf world as the Team TaylorMade Invitational got underway. Hosted at Streamsong Resort's iconic Black Course, the event featured 72 of the most promising players between the ages of 12 and 19. 4 of the top 5 golfers in the AJGA rankings were in the field, making this one of the most competitive junior events of the year. Leading that group was Miles Russell, the AJGA's top-ranked player and reigning junior PGA champion. Widely viewed as a standard of excellence on the circuit, Russell arrived as the clear favorite. Standing among these established names was Charlie Woods. At the time, Charlie sat well down the AJGA rankings and had limited experience at this level. Though his presence always attracted cameras and large crowds, the general belief was that he was still developing. He had shown flashes of brilliance, but had yet to prove he could contend against the very best. His previous starts had produced solid but unspectacular results, and this marked his first ever AJGA Invitational appearance, earned through a sponsor's exemption. The black course itself offered no mercy. Wide fairways tempted aggressive play, but firm greens and deep bunkers punished even small mistakes. Power alone wasn't enough here. Precision, patience, and touch were essential. Tiger Woods was present, not as a legend commanding attention, but as a father quietly observing. The atmosphere felt unusually intense for a junior event, with every swing under scrutiny and constant comparisons hanging in the air. Charlie stayed composed. He understood that moving into the elite tier would require more than promise. It would require a defining performance. The opening round unfolded much as expected at the top of the leaderboard. Early leaders posted low scores, reinforcing the idea that experience would prevail. Charlie's first day, however, was anything but ordinary. His scorecard told a wild story. 8 birdies and an eagle showcased immense firepower, but costly mistakes dragged his score back. The result was a 2 under 70 that left him well behind the leaders. Despite the placement, one thing was clear. The talent was real, and if he could control it, something special might happen. Round 2 was where everything changed. Gone was the chaos of the opening day. Charlie arrived with a clear plan, aiming to balance aggression with discipline. From the opening holes, his game looked different. Early birdies settled his nerves, while brief setbacks were handled with calm responses rather than frustration. Turning to the back 9, still within striking distance but far from the lead, Charlie found a gear that few juniors ever reach. Shot after shot, he attacked pins with confidence. Putts dropped from everywhere. The mistakes disappeared. What followed was a flawless stretch of golf. 5 birdies without a single bogey on the closing holes. A performance so controlled and explosive that it instantly shifted the narrative from potential to proof. By the time he signed his card, it was obvious. This was no longer about a famous last name or flashes of talent. This was the week Charlie Woods became a contender. His score for the day was a stunning 7 under par 65, tying the best round anyone posted all week. In a single round, Charlie surged 13 places up the leaderboard and suddenly found himself in the heart of the tournament. But the climb wasn't his alone. Miles Russell delivered exactly what people expected from the world number 1. Calm, calculated, and relentlessly consistent, he posted a 5 under 67. For the first time on a major national stage, the sport's most talked about prodigy and its top-ranked player stood shoulder to shoulder. Both finished 36 holes at 9 under par, tied for second and just 1 shot behind Luke Colton, who held the outright lead at 10 under after back-to-back 67s. Everything now pointed toward a defining final round. This was no longer just about winning a trophy. Rankings, reputation, and momentum were all on the line. Charlie, buried deep in the standings before the week began, had forced his way into direct contention with the best junior golfer in the country. The conversation had shifted completely. It was no longer about whether Charlie Woods belonged. It was about whether he could actually take down Miles Russell. As daylight faded over Streamsong, the pressure subtly flipped. Charlie was playing free, riding momentum. The rest of the field now carried the weight of expectation, tasked with stopping a Woods who had found his rhythm. Sunday morning at Streamsong felt unreal. The crowd, the energy, the tension. It resembled a PGA Tour finale far more than a junior event. On one side stood Miles Russell, steady and surgical, known for never beating himself. On the other stood Charlie Woods, surging with confidence and playing the most inspired golf of his young career. Both were chasing Luke Colton, but the galleries knew where the real drama lived. Charlie wasted no time. From the opening tee, his focus was unmistakable. While the black course often rewards patience, Charlie stayed on the attack. After a composed par at the first, he struck quickly, rolling in a birdie on the second. Moments later, he added another on a notoriously difficult hole that had frustrated elite players all week. By the fifth, Charlie had erased the deficit and moved into a share of the lead. Then he accelerated. As Russell held steady with pars, Charlie looked unstoppable. A birdie at 5, another at 8, then one more at 9. Each putt seemed to fall with purpose. When he reached the turn, Charlie had posted a blistering 5 under 31, completely reshaping the tournament. In just 9 holes, he had not only passed Luke Colton, but opened a 3-shot advantage over Miles Russell. At 14 under par, Charlie was now setting a pace that most junior players never touch. Tiger Woods watched quietly from nearby. No celebration, no theatrics, just small nods that spoke louder than words. What he was seeing wasn't just scoring, it was growth. His son wasn't reacting anymore. He was controlling the moment. The psychological shift was unmistakable. Russell, usually the hunter, had become the one chasing. Fairways and greens weren't enough anymore. Every solid shot he hit was matched by Charlie hitting one closer. Every opportunity disappeared under the weight of constant pressure. This wasn't simply about birdies. It was about presence. About what happens when the Woods name sits at the top of a leaderboard and refuses to move. As the group stepped onto the 10th tee, the question had changed. The debate was no longer whether Charlie could win, but how firmly he would close the door. The black course back 9 has ended many promising runs. Wind, deep bunkers, and unforgiving greens have a way of exposing impatience. But with a 3-shot cushion, Charlie didn't chase history. He played intelligently. What critics once labeled reckless now looked mature. Charlie chose safer targets, accepted stress-free pars, and trusted his putting to do the rest. It was controlled, disciplined golf, the kind that wins championships. And in that stretch, it became clear, this wasn't just a hot week. This was the evolution of Charlie Woods. Miles Russell made one last push late in the round, rolling in a birdie on the par 4 12th to briefly narrow the margin. For a moment, the door cracked open. Charlie closed it immediately. On the par 4 14th, one of the toughest holes on the property, Charlie attacked with confidence. He clipped a precise wedge that landed inside 10 feet and calmly poured in the birdie. No reaction, no rush, just execution. That putt restored a 3-shot lead. And with holes running out, the momentum was gone for everyone else. By the time the group arrived at the 18th tee, the scene felt historic. The black course's finishing hole is a long, intimidating par 5, and the gallery was packed shoulder to shoulder all the way to the green. Charlie knew a safe par would seal the title. He chose something better. True to the Wood style, Charlie stayed aggressive. He launched a powerful drive straight down the center, followed by a towering approach that found the green. 2 calm putts later, he walked off with a closing birdie and a final round 6 under 66. The numbers told a remarkable story. A 3-day total of 15 under par, 26 birdies, and an eagle. The highest scoring output recorded at an AJGA Invitational during the 2025 to 2026 season. Even more staggering was the margin. Charlie finished 6 shots clear of the world's top-ranked junior, Miles Russell, who ended the week well back at the podium. This wasn't a narrow win. It was a decisive dismantling of the strongest junior field in the country. The most unforgettable moment, though, came after the final putt. As Charlie stepped off the green, he walked directly toward Tiger Woods. What began as a firm handshake quickly turned into a quiet, emotional embrace. The image echoed famous scenes from decades earlier, but this time the roles were reversed. Tiger didn't need to speak. The pride on his face said everything. His son wasn't carrying expectations anymore. He was carrying a trophy. Part 5. What came next? The victory at Streamsong was more than a win. It reshaped junior golf overnight. Before that week, Charlie Woods was viewed as a curiosity, a viral name buried deep in the rankings. After the points were finalized, he made one of the largest jumps ever recorded, soaring nearly 600 spots into the top tier of the world standings. That rise changed everything. For the first time, Charlie no longer needed sponsor invitations. He was fully exempt. He had earned his place based on performance alone. As late 2025 arrived, the recognition followed. In November, Charlie was named to the Rolex Junior All-America First Team, placing him among the top 24 junior golfers on the planet. It was a confirmation recruiters had been waiting for. Now in early 2026, his future has become one of the most closely watched storylines in amateur golf. Powerhouse programs are battling for his commitment, with Florida State and Stanford leading a race that could shape the next decade of college golf. His strong showing at the Junior Orange Bowl International in January only reinforced the point. Even without a victory, his finish against a brutal international field proved his rise was no accident. The dynamic with Miles Russell has changed too. This is no longer an underdog story. It's a rivalry. Two elite talents pushing each other higher, drawing attention, and bringing new energy to junior golf. Tiger Woods' legacy will always be part of the conversation, but the question has evolved. It's no longer about comparisons. It's about potential. Charlie Woods has shown he can handle pressure, outplay the best, and win when the spotlight is brightest. As he prepares for the rest of his 2026 schedule, he does so not as a name, not as a shadow, but as a force of his own. The days of being ranked 606 are gone. The era of the 15-under champion has begun. Charlie Woods is here, and this is only the beginning.